The Hills Have Eyes tells the story of some hills that do not in fact have eyes.
That's right.
A family whose name you won't remember travel across the states with their 2 dogs before getting lost and stranded in the middle of the Nevada desert. And then some crazy cannibals who reside in the hills show up, kill a dog, rape the women, kidnap the baby and kill them one by one before being taken out at the end. A happy picture!
Oh, thanks.
Weirdly, legendary director Wes Craven actually didn't want to make another horror after 1972's The Last House on the Left. He found the genre too constraining, but he failed to get any producers interested in funding any other project of his that didn't involve a lot of blood and violence. He was struggling financially when his friend Peter Locke wanted to finance a horror exploitation flick, and Craven decided to write it for some extra cash. He wanted to work with Sean S. Cunningham on a horror children's film based on Hansel and Gretel. Okay, that sounds amazing.
Hey, wait a minute.
But Locke wanted to do something similar to The Last House on the Left, and Craven wanted to make something a lot more sophisticated. Determined to find a story, Wes began searching for terrible events that happened in a New York library, before learning about Sawney Bean, which sounds like a Nickelodeon character.
So that's it!
Sawney Bean was the leader of a 48-person Scottish clan who murdered and cannibalized around 1,000 people. But what really interested Craven to the story was that even after being arrested, these murderers were then tortured, quartered, burned, and then hanged. He found this quite hypocritical, as the people performing these acts were supposed to be civilized and against the violent and gruesome acts of those they were now torturing to death. This was the basis of the movie, as well as one of his favorite films, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was shot all in the desert with very few characters to save money, but the ending was originally the family reuniting at the end. But Craven changed it to the vengeful murder instead.
Okay, fine.
Janus Blythe, who played the forgettable character of Ruby, literally only got the part because she could run fast. The role required a lot of speedy running, so all the women auditioning literally had to race each other, and Janus came out on top. Gunnar Hansen played the killer Leatherface in the aforementioned Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and he was offered a part in this film, but he turned it down to move to Maine and focus on his literary career. But he later admitted that he regretted not taking part.
There'll be hell to pay now.
Filming took place in October of 1976 in the Mojave Desert in Victorville, California. Why not just film it in the Nevada desert?
Oh shit.
Filming was a nightmare though, as the desert would rise to over 120 degrees Fahrenheit or 49 degrees Celsius during the day, but would then drop to 30 degrees Fahrenheit or -1 degree Celsius at night, with the addition of filming for 12 to 14 hours a day for 6 days a week, 30 miles away from civilization, plus walking across unsteady rocks. Michael Berryman played the lead cannibal, but he has 26 different birth defects, and one of them means he doesn't actually have any sweat glands, so the heat was particularly hazardous to his health, often seeking medical treatment immediately after any action scene. A lot of the cast had to even do their own makeup due to lack of money, but most of the crew had no hope or faith in the project whatsoever. However, once a few weeks had passed and they saw Craven's passion, they thought that maybe this project actually did have some potential after all.
Why?
Also, Craven was actually going to have the cannibals eat the baby.
Kill the baby.
But most of the cast hated the idea. Berryman even refused to do it, so it was completely changed. Good! Yeah, good call! Good!
Jesus Christ and a crunch, what was that?
The movie was originally given an X rating for the graphic nature, with many cuts being taken. They also went through hundreds of different titles before settling on the final one we know today, though Craven hated the name. The Hills Have Eyes premiered in Tucson, Arizona on July the 22nd, 1977, earning $2 million in the first 3 months alone, and $25 million in total, breaking all kinds of records at the time. The Hills Have Eyes is a satisfying piece of pulp. Gratifying aspects of the film are Craven's business-like plotting and pacey cutting, and a script which takes more trouble over the stock characters than it needs. There are plenty of laughs in the dialogue and in the story's disarming twists. The film's story had promise, but never fused into an effective narrative pattern, let alone an allegorical one. The film's predictable plot is just an excuse for scenes of ghastly carnage in the horror vein of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Craven maintains the tension throughout and occasionally manages to relieve the horror with elements of the ridiculous. I simply found myself looking away from the endless stabbings, gougings, and burnings. It warrants consideration as one of the richest and most perfectly realised films of Craven's career. The film is more imaginative than horror films made by major studios. The Hills Have Eyes is the scariest movie I have ever seen. This and The Last House on the Left are a turning point in horror. Suddenly, earlier horror like the Universal classics seem like weak tea. Roger Ebert himself hated it, calling it far too decadent for his own taste, though Eric Henderson from Slant Magazine called it effective with decent performances, but hated a scene where the family create booby traps for the cannibals as it felt more like Looney Tunes. Some said it was one of Craven's best, others say it was one of his worst, and it was just disgusting filth. But Fangoria listed it as one of the 13 greatest horror films out of the 70s. But hey, here's a little funny story for you.
Oh, Lord.
So, director Sam Raimi watched this film and noticed that there's a scene with a ripped up poster of Steven Spielberg's movie, Jaws. Raimi thought that Craven was saying Jaws wasn't a real horror, but this was. So when making The Evil Dead, Raimi left a ripped up poster of The Hills Have Eyes in it to say, no, this is real horror, buddy. Craven then fought back by making Nancy's character fall asleep watching The Evil Dead in A Nightmare on Elm Street. Raimi then returned the favour by shoving a Freddy Krueger glove in Evil Dead 2. Once again, Craven responded by having the characters in Scream watching a VHS tape of Halloween instead of their copy of The Evil Dead.
How many Evil Dead? Yeah! How many Hellraisers?
And when Raimi first showed his television show Ash vs Evil Dead, Freddy's glove appears once again with a poster of The Hills Have Eyes outside a movie theatre. Competitive nature, I like it.
Goddamn bunch of cutthroats.
But am I the only one who thinks this dude looks like the stereotypical 70s porn star? Or the guy from The Big Bang Theory? Or Nicolas Cage. Also, I forgot to mention that not only do they get lost, but they manage to end up in some private Air Force shooting range or something. But how is it this simple to just drive in? And surely the pilots would have seen them. And mate, I'm not even scared of spiders, but fuck that. That jacket belongs to him now, bitch. Get another one. Also, that wasn't actually in the script. The spider showed up and they thought, hey, let's put it in the movie. But unlike Friday the 13th, they didn't think, hey, let's attack it with a machete.
You walk out 6 or 7 miles and get back. I'll walk out as far as the old geezer's service station.
But you can't get there and back before dark.
It's only 15 miles back. Sweetheart, I'll get there about sundown.
An old man expects to walk 15 miles there and 15 miles back before sunset. These characters are so bland and boring. We don't know anything about them. Apparently the parallels between this and Texas Chainsaw Massacre were intentional because Craven loved that film and wanted to pay homage. And they even have it down to the characters. But I will give it this much. The location automatically makes it far more interesting and engaging than Chainsaw Massacre. Because of the rocky areas, you're constantly scrambling your eyes around the screen to try to find the threat, to find the danger. And you're constantly on edge waiting to see what's going to happen next. And the dude's acting when he hears his dog attack one of the killers off screen is brilliant. And then he sees the dog's mutilated corpse. Damn it, movie, fuck you! And by the way, that's a real dog corpse. Yeah, real dog corpse. And Wes Craven refused to his grave to ever acknowledge how they got a hold of it. You make me sick. Wait till I get a Ouija board.
Holy shit, Daddy!
But it's directed perfectly. It's completely silent and then he runs off when we get rapid POV shots. But how the hell doesn't he even break a leg during this run? Oh wait, maybe he does. Then one of the cannibals breathes over the walkie-talkie, which is so creepy.
What the hell was that?
An actor?
Bobby.
Of course they couldn't resist a jump scare, because apparently in horror movies no one just approaches their friend like a normal person.
Get your stupid neck out of that belt, you jackass!
So sensitive towards suicide victims.
Give me that. You always try to stop trespassers by hanging yourself?
I thought you was somebody else.
So you hang yourself. A killer is after you. Oh shit, I better do something. Suicide! What?
It's against the law to commit suicide around here.
What?
It's against the law to commit suicide around here.
Just let that line sink in. Although, why would the cannibal just stab the old man instead of eating him? I mean, oh no, the stereotypical redneck is in danger. Oh, I'm really worried. But then he's forced crap down his throat, but it looks so cartoony, it's hilarious. What is this? Oh, and also he doesn't actually tell anyone about the dog being mutilated for about half the film. Why? I mean, I know he has a spare dog, but there is literally no reason to not tell anyone.
Beast? Beast? Hey, boy.
Oh, great, now he's lost the other one. This guy sucks.
Beauty's dead. What? Beauty's been dead since this afternoon.
Beauty's dead. What happened? Why didn't you tell us sooner?
Exactly! He never answers this, by the way. But this is genuinely so creepy when he's trying to get back inside. But my ex-wife's boyfriend is on the other side. But the dad gets set on fire and Jesus Christ, this is brutal. And the rape scene is really disturbing, which is almost instantly followed by another rape scene. The initial attack scene is so hard to watch, but very powerful and effective. I think this is so much better than Chainsaw. It's dark, it's disturbing, but despite me not caring about the characters, I mean, they just got attacked, one got raped, one got killed, another got wounded, they stole the baby, and I actually do care. I can't even explain it. These characters have no personality, and yet I'm still invested in what the hell's happened to them. How they do that?
Yeah, he still got a gun.
Yeah. I got the bullets.
You know, maybe it's just me, but I think it would have been a lot scarier if they just kind of growled and grunted like cavemen, like, hey, instead of speaking full English. Hey Terry, when are you going to eat that man next door? Oh, I don't know, let me talk about it over dinner. And their family even have this whole backstory that I think wasn't needed. It would have been much scarier in my opinion if they were just these unknown barbarians.
Is that what I think it is? Oh, yeah!
It's about time we got some powerful food around here. We're gonna eat it too.
Thanks for that. Had no idea what that meant.
What are we gonna do? They got food, ammo, they killed Dad and Lynn, and they got the baby. And they're gonna be back.
Maybe it's just me, but he seems awfully calm considering all the crap he just listed.
We need police help. Mayday.
So little emotion.
Oh no.
Emote! This is serious, you underacting, emotionless robot!
Hello, Police Air Force. This is KUY 9532 calling Mayday. Mayday.
Can't you tell by my voice?
Hello, listen. We're under attack.
It's most inconvenient. I think my biggest problem is we see way too much of the killers. I think it would have been much more effective if we spent 95% of the movie with the main characters. Like the whole film takes place at this Winnebago. The cannibals attack randomly without warning, steal the baby and vanish. They then return to attack every now and then, again randomly, and it would also add to the characters' isolation and helplessness as they're picked off one by one. Yes, you kill the fuckers! Who's a good boy? For real, these effects are excellent. But since they cut out the baby eating, story-wise, why do they keep the baby alive anyway? It makes no sense now. I absolutely adore the first half of this film, but by the final act, it just becomes a very standard, generic slasher film, and it loses me. I love how he tries to crawl after the dog, and even he's like, dude, you're fucked. Yes, you're such a good boy! But my problem with this booby trap is just how specific and precise it had to be. This dude had to have stood in the exact spot and to not move an inch while they spend a decade trying to start the damn car.
Where are you going?
Gotta be sure.
Mate, he's not Jason Voorhees. I'm pretty sure that explosion would have done him in. Never mind, apparently he's God. Everyone else, a simple stab wound and he's done, but this guy's apparently immortal.
I thought I'd killed him.
Wes Craven did go on to release a part 2 in 1985 and wanted to turn it into a franchise like Halloween or Friday the 13th, which is weird because he didn't want that to happen to A Nightmare on Elm Street.
There's nothing, dummy.
and he even wanted to do one set in outer space, but it never happened. Save that for Jason and Leprechaun.
Oh, no, you don't.
In fact, his 1995 film Mind Ripper was originally a third installment, but it was rewritten so it's completely different and unrelated. And a remake came in 2006, which Craven even did help produce before him and his son wrote a sequel to the remake the following year. The Hills Have Eyes cemented itself in horror history, especially with Michael Berryman's character as well, and it's often looked at as an absolute classic. I think it's really well made. The first half is great, the second half loses me, but it's not terrible. I think it's far superior to Chainsaw Massacre because this one is actually scary. They just needed some tweaks and more interesting characters. It's disturbing, uncomfortable, horrifying, and a pretty good horror movie.